Hey everybody. Hey, if you remember my last video, I showed you some stuff I got at an auction, and I got a box of 10 engines and 4 cars for 50 bucks. And this is one of the cars on an old REVELL Gondola, and it had no couplers or trucks. And sorry about the scanner. And it had coal or a gravel load that has been painted. I took it off. It had a crack, so I took the Tamiya, the thin glue, held together and put a splash on there, and it seems to be holding it. And I'm just gonna leave this like this is. You know, it's kind of random. That's like gray, and I think it's brown stain, or I don't know, whatever. But it's missing the stirrup steps. So what I don't have brown ones, but I have these. I have tons of little parts from all the cars I built. So these have like a little, I don't know if you can see, they're a little offset. So I'm going to put them right behind, whoops, in the camera. Hopefully the Tamiya glue will just kind of weld it on there. So use those for steps. We're going to put some 148 whisker Katie's on there. You see little whiskers on there. And I've already drilled out these holes with a little pin vise and tapped it for a 256 screws, you know, the standard, industry standard. And I'm using 3/8 inch screws to hold in there. Now these are kind of loose, and I just dropped them on the floor. Fantastic. They're kind of loose, so what I'm going to do is on the inside, this car's beat, you know what, so I said I'm just going to drill through the floor, and it's going to have a load on it, so you're not going to see the holes. But I'm going to take a little dab of the E6000 and just dab the screws, because they're kind of loose, and I noticed when I moved the trucks, I was testing this earlier, the screws moved, and you don't want the screw to fall out on you. But now what we're going to do is take the Katie gearbox for the coupler, and we'll just put on here. We'll get it centered with the hole in here. We'll drill it with the drill and tap it out for a 256 screw. So let me go and start working on that. All right, so just using the top of the draft gear box as a guide, put a little mark in there. And I'm just gonna drill right through. Sorry, I'm not used to drilling with my left hand here. But I'm gonna drill right through the floor. And the spinning of my hand is making like a flash effect. Okay, this is taking longer than I thought. All right, let me get back to you. All right, so I drilled through, and now we'll just take our tap, you know, the thing that puts threads in things, and we just kind of let it work its way into the plastic. Now let me switch hands because I am right-handed, and I don't use any kind of lubricant when I do plastic. It generally doesn't need it. If I tap soft metals, I put a little drip of oil in there just to help out. So you can see we come through the other side. So I just run it down a little more and make sure everything is clear. And then just back it up. And then we just simply take our coupler during the gearbox, our 156 screw, just align it real quick here, and of course I'm having all kinds of trouble because I'm doing this on camera. Yay. right, there we go. If I could put the screwdriver in steady. There we go. Make sure it's square. Just tighten it down. Make sure this is still loose. Yep. And then we're going to put the trucks back on. I'll put the other couple on because we have to see if the height's correct for the coupler. So let me put the other coupler on, put the trucks back on, and let's see what we got. All right, so we got our car on the track, and we got our Katie height gauge, and it's tad high on that side. Let's see the other side. And that one just a touch high, but you know what? I'll live with it for now. You know what? I do have shims. Hold on, let me show you this. All right, I just got these, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. These are made by Katie. They're shims. They kind of like look like the top to a gearbox, but actually they have no ridges on them. They're flat. They come in two thicknesses. You got a .010 and .015. We're going to use the .015. And they go between the car body and the coupler box. And what they'll do is they'll just drop that coupler down just a little bit, and I think we'll have it right on. So let me trim these up. I'm going to trim the little holes. You know, these are designed for the old number 5 boxes. They have the little side screws for the old models that use tiny screws that went there. So I'll just trim these, and I'll put them in between the body and the coupler gearbox, and we'll check back and see if we got it right again. All right, so we'll take the shim and just put it on top, kind of line it up, and put the screw back through. Oops, there we go. Make sure you get the shim in there. You line up everything back on the car and screw it back on. Okay, you know what? Even with the shim in there, they're still sitting at high. So I think what I'm going to do is take the shim out and put an overshank coupler. And by that, I mean, if you don't know what that means, most couplers are center shank. The part that holds the coupler head to the body is the shank, and it's right in the center of the coupler. The overshank, it mounts to the top of the coupler, so it drops it down. And they make undershank too, which brings the coupler up if the car is sitting too low. So I'm going to switch out the couplers to overshank and see if that clears up the problem. And you might be thinking, you know, this is a lot of work for an old car, but, you know, this is the kind of thing I enjoy. And I think a lot of people do enjoy it. I think it's cool to take a car that was made, geez, this thing was built in the 50s. Well, the builder date on the bottom says 50, so I don't know if it's a 70-year-old car or not, but I think it's cool to bring an old car up to, you know, new standards and let it run with your expensive new stuff. All right, so let's switch out the couplers. Okay, overshanks are installed. As you can see how where it goes into the body, it's attached to the very top of the coupler. And look at that, beautiful. Let's turn around and try the other side. And I know some guys don't like the overshank or undershank look, but I'd rather have a car perform well. Yeah, there we go. See? Boom. And besides, you know what? Who really notices this? You know who? No one. All right. Let's, I'll show you the difference, though, in couplers. Let me move the camera. I mean, the various types of under, over, and medium, and middle shank. So real quick, just to show you what I'm talking about when I say under shank, center shank. This is your standard Katie coupler now. It's the 148. And see the shank is right at the center of the coupler. This is your undershank. See, it's mounted at the bottom, and then you have the overshank, which is mounted at the very top of the coupler. And this is all just to help you get the correct height you need when replacing couplers on a car. It's not so much an issue now with modern cars, but if you like me and you like upgrading the old cars, I always keep a stock of all these kind of couplers on hand, just you know, because you never know what you're going to come across. And Probably a lot of you guys know this already, but for those of you who aren't aware of this, I thought I'd just show you real quick. Okay, so now we have new trucks. By the way, these are Atlas friction bearing. I don't know if I mentioned that. I like to keep a set of those on hand and the roller bearing ones. So now we got new trucks on here, new couplers. I want to replace the stirrups, and I have some of these. And you can, like I said, they're offset. You can see. So this surface mounts inside the car body, and I'm going to cut those off the sprue. Hopefully the Tamiya glue here will, weld it into place, and we'll have all 4 steps put in, stirrup steps. All right, so let me cut those out and glue them on. Okay, I've already glued 2 of the stirrup steps on, and I did a rotten job videoing it and getting my hands away, or I kept picking the car up and taking it out of the frame kind of thing. So let me try a 3rd time to show you. I take a bunch of the Tamiya thick glue, put a nice healthy amount on there, and make sure it melts nice to the car. And I'll mount it right like this. Please work out well. There we go. Let's just square it up. There we go. You can see the one on the other side. But these are going on nicely. And I like these. I don't know where I got these from. It's from a kit. But these stirrups are like a softer plastic. A lot of the highly detailed cars I've built through the years have had rigid plastic, and these things break. But I like when they make them more of a little more give to them kind of plastic. Let's see how it looks on the ends. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. All right, I'll just finish up the last one. Okay, so now the stirrup steps are glued on. We're pretty much almost finished, but I noticed it's a little underweight, so I'm going to use some 1/4 ounce tire weights. And I bought these at Harbor Freight. You can buy a big pack of them for like 10 bucks. And they're supposedly lead-free, but it's a lot cheaper than buying the actual model weights. And they have little sticky backs. So you just peel off the back. And you want to, once again, am I going to do this so you can see it? Sort of center it. Now remember, there's going to be a load on top of this, so you're not going to see. See if I can get it centered. There we go. And just press it down, and voila. And then we'll do the same for the other side. I didn't really measure this to see how much it weighs. I'm just going by feel. Is that pretty much centered? There we go. And just press that down. Yeah, they also make these weights in 1/2 ounce, but I usually use the 1/4 ounce. And there we go. And then we just put, if I can pick it up, the repaired load. Remember, I had to glue that crack on it, and that just sits on top. And there you have a restored car. Yeah, I know the stirrup step should have been brown, but I don't have brown, so who cares? But hey, it's as good as a Rapido, isn't it? Okay, maybe not. All right, so now here's the new Rapido Gondola. I haven't shown you that before. I got this a little while ago. And here's what I just fixed up. Can you really tell the difference? Nah, you can't, can you? All right, maybe you can. All right, guys. But anyway, so there, it just shows you can take, I'm assuming that car is 50, 70 years old, and bring it up to standard so it can run with all the new modern great stuff we have available to us. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. And as always, I'll see you where you see trains.